Hi, thanks for clicking on this video. We're here at Trinity Wesleyan Church so that we can unleash hope to those around us, and that includes you. So thank you for being a part of what's going on in our church, even through technology. We hope that this video is a blessing to you, and at the end, you're going to see some next steps and ways that you can get involved even after this video is done.
I am a connoisseur of burgers and chicken fingers. Now, it's not because I'm picky, but I really enjoy trying different kinds of burgers and chicken from different restaurants. From fast food to sit down to hole-in-the-wall restaurants, I've tried them all over the place. Some restaurants really know how to take a classic and give it an edge over other burgers. But some restaurants really know how to take a classic and turn it into a hot mess of garbage and grease. I know what I like, and I'm willing to try a lot of different kinds of burgers. I've had the regular, just like bacon cheeseburger. That's a classic to me. But I've also had a peanut butter and jelly burger, which sounds disgusting until you actually try it. So I had a peanut butter and jelly burger with a Food Network chef in Sturgis after the Discovery Channel finished filming a street food throwdown during Bike Week when we lived there. And so the chef had me come up with him on stage and try this burger with him. And it was amazing. You think it wouldn't, but it was just perfect. I've had a Thanksgiving burger, which was a turkey burger with stuffing and cranberry sauce on top of it. This was in Indiana. It was sweet and savory. Just a great burger all around. But I just love a classic burger. My favorite burger of all time, takes the cake for any and all burgers I've ever had, is the Just Bacon Burger from Chili's. It makes all other burgers look bad. It makes all other burgers look less than. It makes them look like chumps compared to the Just Bacon Burger. Now, Jen and I, we love Chili's. If there's a way to our heart, it is through Chili's. Our first year of marriage, Jen and I lived in Sturgis, South Dakota, but we didn't have a grocery store in town that didn't charge over-the-top prices. We didn't have just a regular chain grocery store. So we would have to drive 25 minutes to Spearfish or 30 minutes to Rapid City. So we typically would go grocery shopping in Rapid City. It's a little bit further away, but we would go there because there's a lot more stores, a lot more things to do there. At our first church, our days off were on Mondays, and so Jen and I would go get dinner at Chili's, then go grocery shopping. We did this most Mondays of the year. At the end of our first year of marriage, we had a bank recap, like a Spotify Wrapped, but for finances. It's far more boring than a Spotify Wrap, but they give you a pie chart that shows different categories of where your money was spent. So they have utilities, groceries, gas, entertainment, blah, blah, blah. But there was a category on our year-end recap, and it just said Chili's. We spent so much money there, it got its own category. It said we spent $1,500 that year at Chili's. This is back when they had the 2 for $20 deal, and then it went up to 2 for $25, and sometimes we'd get dessert, sometimes we wouldn't. But it wasn't about the money that we spent. It was about the conversations that happened between Jen and I at that Chili's table. So many fun times. So many times of just enjoying each other's company. Sometimes we would have friends with us, but mainly we went as our weekly ritual. We would go from our house to Chili's, grocery shopping, then go back home. Fast forward a couple years, I had this bright idea after seeing a table on Facebook Marketplace. It was an authentic Chili's tabletop for $40. Authentic, it came with gum on the bottom of the table. I bought some commercial restaurant legs online, and it became my anniversary gift to Jen. It was our dining room table to remind us of the good times and the deep conversations that happened in the first year of our marriage. And to this day, it is still our dining room table. What I'm trying to tell you is I'm a professional burger taster, and since I've given myself that award in the highest honor of the burger world, we are going to play a game called Meal or No Meal. You got to say it with me like everybody does on a game show, okay? Ready? 3, 2, 1. Meal or no meal. What this game is, it has nothing to do with deal or no deal or any connotations to deal or no deal. It is a totally different game. But I'm going to give you a picture of a burger, and you're going to guess which fast food restaurant this burger is from. It's as simple as that. There's no winner chicken dinner, because winner burger dinner doesn't really work that well, okay? So this is the first one. This first one is McDonald's. If you got that right, give yourself a pat on the back if you can reach that far, okay? This is the second one. Less people maybe go to this one than McDonald's, but this is Hardee's. This next one is a newcomer to the burger world, and it's close enough to the Just Bacon burger for me, and I think it's amazing for fast food. This is Arby's. This next one, Jen and I had just tried when we were in California. It is a staple of California. How it became a staple, I don't know. It's not that good, but it is In-N-Out Burger. This next one, if you have had it, you probably spent some time on the toilet after. It is White Castle Sliders. Next one comes from the man Dave himself. If you get that clue, it is Wendy's. And the last one is of royalty. Where is it from? It is from Burger King. So that was meal or no meal. Say it with me. Meal or no meal. No. If you got all of them right, it doesn't matter. Brag to somebody around you if you beat them. Text somebody if somebody else is watching with you or watching, there's watching at the same time. Brag to them. No, that was a trap. The last shall become first and the first shall become last. If you won, you lost. If you lost, you won. This is meal or no meal, where the game doesn't make any sense. But everyone loves a good meal. Everyone has that nostalgic memory around a dinner table at home or at a restaurant. It may be the food, might be who you were with. Food could be terrible. People could be great. People could be terrible. The food could be terrible. Doesn't matter. You might just remember it's just something great about having a meal with someone else. When I was a kid, there was always a table at my grandma's house that had room for one more person. There was always an extra chair, and if there wasn't a chair, there was a step stool. If there wasn't a step stool, you got like a little half ladder. Like there was always another place when we went to my grandparents' house. The problem is that my grandparents, my grandpa was a pastor, and after the evening service on Sundays is when they would start making dinner. So sometimes dinner didn't get started. We didn't start eating till 10 or 11 p.m. Then my grandpa had the audacity to pray for 5 or 10 minutes that late at night when no one had eaten, and I was praying the whole time that I would not die from starvation from my grandpa's mini sermon prayer. Somehow I survived every time, even though I thought I wasn't going to. But they would have people come over even if they didn't have enough food. It didn't matter if you were family, a neighbor, somebody down the street. There was always a place for somebody else. And somehow the food always stretched further than we thought it could. I didn't realize it then, but what my grandparents were doing was more than feeding people. My grandma, she was preaching the gospel without a pulpit. The table was her mission field, brought people together. So today we're going to go to another table. We're going to go to Luke chapter 14. We're going to be starting at verse 1. While you're turning there in your Bible, let's take a look into what is going on in this culture. So Luke chapter 14 takes place during Jesus' journey toward Jerusalem. So he's heading that way. This is the period when he was teaching his disciples about the cost of following him, the nature of God's kingdom, and how radically different his way is from the world's way. But at the beginning of Luke chapter 14, Jesus is at the home of a prominent Pharisee for a Sabbath meal. This is not just like, oh, let's go get lunch after church. Like, not casual. Sabbath meals were a weekly cultural and religious event, and being invited to the home of a Pharisee was a sign of social importance. But there's tension here. Pharisees were often watching Jesus closely, looking for a reason to accuse him of anything. Meals in the ancient Jewish world were deeply tied to honor and shame and social hierarchy. So to understand Jesus' words in Luke chapter 14, you have to know that meals were social power plays. Like, you invited people who could benefit you politically, socially, financially. In return, they would invite you back, creating this unspoken cycle of favors and reciprocity. The seating order at the table signified somebody's rank and honor, like if you were closest to the host, if you're furthest from the host. But one thing was sure, the poor, the sick, and marginalized were not invited because they had nothing to offer in return. And these people were viewed as cursed or unclean. That's the cultural significance of this meal that Jesus is talking about. So Luke chapter 14, verse 1 says, one Sabbath, when Jesus went to eat in the house of a prominent Pharisee, he was being carefully watched. Now, the word that they use here for carefully watched was interested and sinister espionage. So they were watching like a dog waiting for food scraps to fall off the table. Like, remember that. The Pharisees were waiting for Jesus to mess up. Verse 2. There in front of him was a man suffering from abnormal swelling of his body. Jesus asked the Pharisees and experts in the law, is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath or not? But they remained silent. Remember, they're watching, they're waiting for Jesus to mess up. Keep going. It says, so taking hold of the man, he healed him and sent him on his way. Then he asked them, the Pharisees, if one of you has a child or an ox that falls into a well on the Sabbath day, will you not immediately pull it out? And they had nothing to say. They couldn't say anything. They were waiting to sabotage Jesus. Verse 7, when Jesus noticed how the guests picked places of honor at the table, he told them this parable. When someone invites you to a wedding feast, do not take the place of honor, for a person more distinguished than you may have also been invited. If so, the host who invited both of you will come and say to you, give this person your seat. Then, humiliated, you will have to take the least important place. But when you are invited, take the lowest place, so that when your host comes, he will say to you, friend, move up to a better place. Then you will be honored in the presence of the other guest. For all those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. Verse 12, then Jesus said to his host, when you give a luncheon or a dinner, do not invite your friends, your brothers or sisters, your relatives, or your rich neighbors. If you do, they may invite you back, so you will be repaid. Remember that cultural significance. Verse 13, but when you give a banquet, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind, and you will be blessed. Although they cannot repay you, you will be repaid at the resurrection of the righteous. So Jesus was a guest that didn't play to society's standards. Like, if you're at someone's house and something is weird during dinner, do you bring it up to that person at the dinner? No. What do? You talk about it after dinner on the way home, like a normal civilized person. Jen and I went to someone's house for dinner at our first church, and this was someone we liked being around. She was about 70 years old at the time and still had her wits, and she was a fun person. But we thought she lost it that night. Jen and I were sitting at the table, and she brought us a small plate with a single lettuce leaf, half a pear, and a glob of mayonnaise, and didn't say anything. She gave us silverware, and then she went to go finish the rest of dinner, and our eyes were like the size of dinner plates. We're like, what is this? Should we eat it? Is this a cultural thing of South Dakota? We're like, let's eat some of it, so at least it'll look like we did something and it's not rude. So she came back about 15 minutes later with the rest of dinner, and we started eating the pasta. Halfway through dinner, she told us that her late husband loved this dish and started talking about, Oh, this makes more sense. It's called Southern pear salad. Probably the worst salad I've ever had. Like, we didn't talk on the way home. When we finally got home, we're like, what was that? That was so weird. I mean, yes, we're glad it came and it was reminiscent of her husband, but Jesus just went ahead and said the thing he was thinking. Now, verse 15, when one of those at the table heard this, he said to Jesus, "Blessed is the one who will eat at the feast in the kingdom of God." Jesus replied, "A certain man was preparing a great banquet and invited many guests. At the time of the banquet, he sent his servant to tell those who had been invited, 'Come, for everything is now ready.' But they all alike began to make excuses. The first said, 'I've just bought a field and I must go to see it. Please excuse me.' Another said, 'I have just bought 5 yoke of oxen. I'm on my way to try them out. Please excuse me.' Still another said, 'I just got married, so I can't come.' The servant came back and reported this to his master. Then the owner of his house became angry and ordered his servant, 'Go out quickly into the streets and alleys of the town and bring in the poor, the crippled, the blind, and the lame.' 'Sir,' the servant said, 'what you ordered has been done, but there's still room.' Then the master told his servant, 'Go out to the roads and country lanes and compel them to come in, so that my house will be full. I tell you, not one of those who are invited will get a taste of my banquet.'" The first thing that we can learn from Jesus at the dinner table is that, number one, Jesus redefines the guest list. He says, when you give a luncheon or a dinner, do not invite your friends, your brothers or sisters, relatives, rich people. If you do, they might actually pay you back for what you have done. But when you give a banquet, invite the poor, the crippled, lame, blind, and you will be blessed, flipping society on its head. In Jesus' day, meals were a big deal socially. Sharing a table with someone meant that you were equals. It was a way to climb the social ladder. You invited people who could advance your reputation or repay you later. But Jesus says, hey, stop stacking your guest list with people who can't or who can give you something back. It's not about that. Invite the people that can't. Invite those who have nothing to offer you, except the chance for you to show them the love of God. But here's the problem for us today. Most of us fill our dinner tables with people who make us comfortable. People that are like us, same political views, same background, same income level. And yet Jesus says, change the guest list, and you'll change the world. The second thing that we can learn from Jesus at the dinner table is that God's kingdom is a banquet for the unlikely. Jesus tells this parable about a man who throws this great banquet, sends out the invites, but all the important, respectable guests make excuses. I bought a field, I can't come. I just got married, I can't come. I'm busy, I can't come. And so the host says, fine, go to the people that are able to come. Those in the alleys of the town. Bring the poor, the crippled, the blind, the lame. And then go get more people. Go out to the roads and the country lanes, have them come so that my house will be full. I'm making a banquet for people to come to. The message is clear. God's kingdom isn't for the self-satisfied, it's for the hungry, the broken people, the overlooked people. And if we only invite people like us to our tables, we risk missing the very people Jesus came to save. We miss the point of our salvation. Yes, salvation is for us, but it's for everyone else too. So don't forget the everyone else, the people who don't look like you or act like you. The third thing that we can learn from Jesus at the dinner table is he made his meals a mission. One of the most simple, powerful ways to surprise the world is to open your table to those who are far from God. You don't need to go to school. You don't need theology to have a dinner table. You don't need a big budget. You just need a plate, a fork, and a willingness to love people. Like Jesus ate with tax collectors and sinners. Think about that. It meant that they were equals. The God of the universe came down to love people, and he ate with people who were unclean, those people who were considered the scum of the earth. He used the dinner table to tear down walls and build relationships. So who are the unclean people to you? Are they homeless? Do they do things that you would deem unclean? Is it how they act or what they would say? Because it's less about protecting yourself and more about expanding the kingdom of God. When you eat with someone, you create space for conversation, and conversation opens the door for transformation. There was a woman named Rosaria Butterfield who years ago was a tenured English professor and outspoken critic of Christianity. She wasn't looking for faith. She wasn't looking for a church. In fact, she wrote articles mocking Christians. One day, she wrote a piece for the local paper, and a pastor wrote her back, not to argue, not to attack, but to invite her over for dinner. She said she almost threw the invitation away, but for some reason she accepted. That first meal didn't turn into a gospel presentation or an altar call. They just talked. She asked questions. He listened. They ate good food. And then she came back again and again. Over the course of 2 years, that table became a place of honest conversation, prayer, and friendship. Eventually, Rosaria gave her life to Christ not because of a debate, but because someone opened their home and made room at their table. She says this as a quote, "Hospitality is not about making your house perfect. It's about making people feel welcome so that they can see Jesus." The fourth thing we can learn from Jesus at the dinner table, it moves from a selfish hospitality to a kingdom-minded hospitality. Like, there's a big difference between entertaining and hospitality. Entertaining is about impressing people. Hospitality is about blessing people. Selfish hospitality asks, who do I want to spend time with? But kingdom hospitality says, who does God want me to spend time with? Selfish hospitality says, I'll invite you if you can help me. But kingdom hospitality says, I'll invite you because you can't repay me. The last thing that Jesus does is he challenges us, challenges the people hearing the parable of that day to change the guest list. So the challenge for this week is invite one person or family into your home who would never expect it. Maybe it's the coworker who's always alone, the neighbor who just moved from another country, the single parent, the person you'd normally avoid. Like, don't overthink it. Don't try to make your dinner Pinterest perfect. Just set the table and make room. Your table might be the first place they ever feel the welcome of Jesus. Jesus says in Luke chapter 14, verse 23, "Go out, compel them to come in so that my house will be full." God's heart is for a full table, a full house, and a full kingdom. The question is, will your table look like his table? Will it be filled with people just like you, or will it be the kingdom of God, beautifully diverse, full of the broken, the lonely, and the lost? If we take Jesus seriously here, then every meal becomes a mission, every table a pulpit, every plate an opportunity for grace. We can change the world one meal at a time if we're willing to change the guest list. This week, invite one unlikely guest to your table. Maybe it's somebody here at church. Maybe it's somebody outside of the church that you've been avoiding. First, what you got to do, you got to pray for the conversation before they come. Ask God to use your table as a place of gospel welcome. Remember, the gospel is not selfish, so don't use the gospel in vain.